We are representing America's largest potential swing vote, poor and low-wage brothers and sisters who make this country work.
Those most impacted by injustice, voting together.
My whole life, I've been running only to find that there is nowhere to run in this country that is not contaminated by the disease of injustice.
Poor and low-income folks make up over 43% of Mississippi's electorate. Yeah.
I am determined to give my beautiful daughters a future.
That we're organizing every homeless veteran across this country, and we're uniting because we are the swing vote.
And we have the power to fight.
It is very important to vote.
Stand for justice.
We are strong, not weak. Our vote is our voice, and the ballot box should be our choice.
If we don't take action collectively, they're going to keep mistreating us. We must get out and vote. We are the swing vote, and we will determine every electoral contest.
We won't be silent anymore.
We saved this country. Together we can do it again. Vote!
Until one day, we are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Because together we are the swing vote. We welcome you. This is Bishop William Barber, president of Repairs of the Breach and co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign on National Call for Moral Revival, along with Reverend Dr. Liz Theoharis of the Cairo Center. And we welcome you all tonight to this national rally, this final push. Now, I'm going to get out of the way because really I want you to hear everything I could have said. I've said it. You saw it on the video. And I really want you to hear peers, persons from all over this country, faith leaders, impacted brothers and sisters who are the baddest, strongest, and I mean bad in the soul sense, most powerful, most moral leaders in the country. And they are going to be saying very clearly why you can't listen to anybody who tells you not to vote. I had someone send me a note the other day and say, when you all are pushing voting, you're taking the movement to the graveyard because social movements don't need to worry about voting. They just need to push issues. Well, that doesn't make any sense because in the fight for justice, you must have articulation, you must have agendas, you must have agitation, you must have legislation, litigation, and voter participation. And it's not just something for us now, it's something that has been fought for. And those who tell us not to vote are telling us to walk away from the wisdom and the lives and the death of all of those who came before us. And they are telling us because they're afraid. Anybody that tries to suggest that you shouldn't be involved, they either are just they're giving up or they are somebody that's undercover trying to get you to not operate in a power that you have. You should know that you, and nobody else has ever done this in history, have already reached nearly 11 million, not 1,100, not 11,000, but 11 million poor and low-wage infrequent voters, people who make $50,000 or less in a family of four, people who are $500 away from economic ruin, and people who fight every day. You've reached over 11 million. And we're breaking this notion that poor and low-wage people don't vote. And people are responding. And they're understanding that they are not going to find the perfect candidate, but they are voting their issues and their voices. And they know that if we do that, it will force persons to have to hear us and have to talk to us. But if you stay home and just say, nobody, I don't care, then you abdicate a serious responsibility. And so let me close here. I was reading today about Fannie Lou Hamer. And Fannie Lou Hamer said that it was after she was told what she couldn't do, after they shot up her house, after her boss, the one that was on the particular plantation, told her she didn't matter. It was after that that she became more determined to vote and more determined to make sure people, it was after the threats. It was after people told her what couldn't happen. Afterwards. It was after that that she went out and said she bought her a brand new dress because she wanted people to know every time she showed up, she was showing up for business. They beat her in that dress, but that same dress, she wore it right onto the Democratic Convention and demanded a place at the table. It wasn't before the struggle that she decided. It was after all of the things to try to stop her. We've seen over 1,000 voter suppression stylists try to stop us. We've seen, we thought we had the minimum wage raised in 2020 when we fought and got it through the House and then in the Senate, and then 8 Democrats and 49 Republicans chose to vote against 55 million people. But after this, we are not going to get weaker. We're getting stronger. We're getting more powerful and more committed. So let me read this one piece that's in a new book called American Prophets, and this is my contribution to this rally. It says, the struggle to overcome the giant triplet evils of racism, excess materialism, and militarism remains arduous. It requires the radical realization that alienation from our true selves, fed and disguised by mass consumerism, leads to violence and the reduction of persons into things. Now, some say that what is needed is great contemplation. Yes, we must think. And yes, we must think deeply. But contemplation and action need to be joined, lest our activism becomes merely another form of violence and our contemplation another form of self-gratification. In other words, we can't just sit down and have great thoughts about what should be changed, and we can write well about what needs to be changed, but we don't do anything to change it. Action that is rooted in forms of violence that just increases the violence rather than increases change. They go on to say, contemplation, solitude, and simplicity are necessary to think deeply in order to become into contact with our true selves. But action is also required in identification with, solidarity with, and presence among the poor and the oppressed. And thus, we remain guilty bystanders, obsessed with our desire to satisfy kind of spiritual hedonism, no less than material hedonism. A real time may come in this moment. Change will come in this moment if it leads to urgency. Urgency. But we cannot use any excuse for inaction. Some will tell you the time has passed. The moment is over. But understand this, my brothers and sisters. The movement is not over. As long as we live, as long as we breathe, as long as we can get up in the morning, the movement lives because it lives in us. Nobody can wake the sleeping giant of poor and low-wage people but us, because we are that giant. So let's keep moving. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep voting. And let's declare forward together and not one step back. One step back until every item on our agenda is a reality. Poverty and low wages are abolished. And we challenge and undermine and overthrow nonviolently the 5 interlocking injustices of systemic racism, systemic poverty, ecological devastation, denial of health care, the war economy, and false of religious nationalism. The movement is not over as long as we live and breathe and have our being and exercise our power. God bless you, my brothers and sisters. You are doing what many dreamed of being done. Think about it. Already you've touched 11 million infrequent voters. And because of you, many will move in this election season and in the season beyond, because we will not stop until justice is ours. God bless you.
Gracious and loving Creator who is called by so many different names, we gather today across traditions and faith, communities in the physical and virtual spaces, united in our shared commitment to justice, equality, and the sacred worth of every person. In this virtual space, we come from many paths, but we stand together in one purpose: to lift up the voices of the unheard, to inspire action, and to call forth a moral revival in our nation. God of justice, Spirit of humanity, we ask for your presence to be at work in us, to ensure that every vote is cast and every voice is counted. Empower us, O divine one who is greater than us, that connects us in humanity, with the courage to engage in this essential work of democracy, knowing that it is our right and our responsibility to care for our neighbor by participating fully in this election. From all of our different faith communities, we know that there is justice, there's love, and there's mercy. This is the 3 interconnecting themes that fall through all our faiths. May the spirit of unity, equity, and compassion be with us in this gathering and beyond. Let this be a time where we inspire, energize, and prepare to transform our world through the power of our collective vote. Together we will rise. Together we will fight for justice. Together we will create a change that honors the dignity of all people. In the spirit of justice, in the spirit of love, we pray. We say Ashe, Amen, Shalom, and Amen.
Good evening. I joined this call tonight to celebrate and thank you for all the work that we're doing, reaching out to millions of poor and low-wage voters who will definitely make a difference in this upcoming election. We are the swing vote. I'm also thanking you for the work that we will do in the next 15 days. It's important to us and to everything that we believe in not to let up. As I get on this call tonight, I am again reminded that we stand at a critical moment in our history. The 2024 election is not just another election, it's the election. You've heard this before. Trust me, this time it's true, and we all know it. This election is a referendum on our future, what we want for ourselves, our families, and our nation. It will determine if we have a country where healthcare is accessible and affordable, where climate change is believed to be real, where reproductive freedom is protected, and where no one's rights are rolled back by the government. This election will determine if we have policies, programs, and laws that are on the side of workers, not just the wealthy, that builds affordable housing, invests in education, and ensures that no one's civil and human rights are abridged. And even more, whether our very democracy and Constitution remain. So, brothers and sisters, we cannot go back. Tonight, we thank you for all the work that you've done. We celebrate all the hard work that we're doing together, and we look forward to the work that we'll do over the next 15 days. We look forward to a victory for poor and low-wage workers on November 5th. But we also look forward to the work we will do, and will do beginning November 6th, to ensure that the voices of poor and low-wage workers continue to be heard and that our power continue to be felt. Together, we will build the America we know is possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roz. Reverend Barber, are you still with us? All right, Danielle, let's...
Yes, I am, Clinton. I'm with you. Yes, sir.
Awesome. Welcome back. We're looking forward to hearing that call to action for tonight, to go to vote.org.
Well, I wanted to turn everything to you all. As I said at the beginning, I think we have the more powerful voices. Everything I had to say is in that video. In fact, I want them to key it up one more time because it moves so fast. If you would key that video up just one more time, Spark Street. But we want everybody, part of this mobilizing is you got to go. And this is what we said in our texting that was done. We've handed out over 100,000 pieces of material. Over 11 million people have been touched. And what we said to them was they got an agenda, a report card on both parties and presidential candidates at the top level. And there was a place there that you could go to vote.org to check your registration and make sure everything is straight. We also want to say to folk that we ask people to pass on this message to at least 10 people. So if everybody we touch 10 people, that's with 20 million people. And pay attention to your state laws. We won't give out what different states are on this call because we don't want to make any mistakes. But go to your state, and where there is early voting, like for instance in North Carolina, you can vote early and register at the same time. So you don't have to be registered to vote and then go to vote. You can go and register and vote at the same time. Utilize the opportunities that are at your state. And remember, as Rod said, this power, let me remind you of how powerful poor and low-wage voters are. And this will be my last word for tonight. In past elections, the margin of victory in Wisconsin was 20,000 votes, with nearly 1 million poor and low-wage voters that did not vote, many who already registered, and many who said the reason they didn't vote, nobody talked to them, but are deciding they can talk to themselves, and then also let their voices be known among other people. Just so less than just 20,000 votes. In Michigan, 10,000 votes in one of the elections the last few years. 10,000 with over 1 million people who did not vote. In Pennsylvania, 40,000 with over 1.4 million people that didn't vote. In North Carolina, 74,000 with over 1 million poor and low-wage people that didn't vote. And one of the things we were able to look at is that when you look at some of the past elections, you can literally, Clinton, add up that in about 5 states, who was determined, the Electoral College and the presidency was determined in over 5 states for somewhere under 170,000 votes. But in those same states, those same 5 states, over 5 million poor and low-wage voters did not vote or were infrequent voters. That kind of power cannot remain dormant. It has to be activated. It's a gift from God. It's a gift from the universe. It's the flip side of our struggle. In other words, there are 100 and some odd million, 40 million people who are poor and low wealth. But the flip side of that is a community of people who are united by their struggle and their suffering. And if they unite by their suffering and struggle, they can unite in their power. So go to vote.org, check your laws in your state, check your voter registration, send it to 10 other people, and let's move and massively show up on every day from now until the election day, because election is a season now. Show up every day, show up on election day, and then let's show up after election day, because we got work to do. We've got a nation to shift. We've got a democracy that's worth saving, and we got to ensure that it's a democracy that lifts up all people, and that poor and low wage brothers and sisters are at the forefront of who this democracy is, who's lifted up, and who benefits from our collective action together.
Take back the mic, and tell the truth,
We are representing America's largest potential swing vote. Poor and low-wage brothers and sisters who make this country work.
Those most impacted by injustice, voting together.
My whole life, I've been running only to find that there is nowhere to run in this country that is not contaminated by the disease of injustice.
Poor and low-income folks make up over 43% of Mississippi's electorate.
I am determined to give my beautiful daughters a future.
That we're organizing every homeless veteran across this country, and we're uniting because we are the swing vote.
And we have the power to fight.
It is very important to vote.
Stand for justice.
We are strong, not weak. Our vote is our voice, and the ballot box should be our choice.
If we don't take action collectively, they're going to keep mistreating us. We must get out and vote. We are the swing vote, and we will determine every electoral contest.
We won't be silent anymore.
We saved this country. Together we can do it again. Vote!
Until one day, we are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Because together we are the swing vote.
All right. Thanks so much for that wonderful video. Next, we'll have up our powerful testifiers. First, first coming up is Shantaya Lawrence from North Carolina. Shantaya Lawrence.
Good evening. My name is Shantaya Lawrence, and I'm a child care provider in Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been doing child care since I was 16 years old. I love seeing children grow, seeing their beautiful faces every day. I love getting to know families and supporting them as they raise a child in this crazy world. The early stages of a child's life before 5 are so important. We child care providers love our job. We have to love it because the money isn't keeping us here. I hear all the time people say that our children are the most important resource that we have, which makes me wonder if that's true. Why am I still one of 3.5 million poor and low-income North Carolinians? I have a bachelor's degree, a license, no kids, and I am still a broke child care worker. I work extra jobs, babysit at the long days, and I still don't have enough to cover everything. I have colleagues that have literally gone homeless, living out of their cars, but still come to work every day to take care of our kids. It's not right. That's why we child care workers and low-wage workers across the state and country need to vote like never before. I always vote. It's not an option. It's the people we elect who make it so that people like me and my colleagues have the scrape to get by in the richest nation on earth. We are the sleeping giant in this election, and we are waking up our colleagues and communities to vote this year. We know our votes are demands to pay us what we deserve. Our votes are demands to fund early education because our kids deserve it. Forward together.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shantaya Lawrence. Next, we will have up Mr. Wesley Bryant from Kentucky.
Hey, Danielle, just before we
sir.
go to Kentucky, I think we ought to say, yeah, Shantaya, that was powerful. My God.
Yes, Shantia,
Come
that
on,
was
y'all. Let's bring some
powerful.
energy here. That sister
Yes,
said, she said that
powerful. Amen.
she
Yes.
said that she has people who are taking care of children and living in their cars, and she ain't taking it no more, and she's going to vote for people that are going to seriously fund childhood education and living wages. See, that's
Amen.
the story. That's
That's
putting a
great.
face on this. And I don't want us to take this nonchalantly. That's
great.
when brothers and sisters like my dear sister decide that their power is not going to be dismissed, that's the nonviolent revolution that will change this country. Thank you so much, sister, for leading us off in that way and saying the nation's going to hear your story, feel your power, feel your vote, and that you all are not going to be depressed, but you're going to instead push forward and press forward in a powerful way. You're not going to give up. Instead, you're going to stand up. Thank you. That helped me tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Shantia. Next, we'll have up Mr. Wesley Bryant from Kentucky.
What's a house? It's a dream. It's my dream. But it's only a dream. My family's been robbed of the simplest necessities in life. A home to run and play in, to build memories, to grow into, to store us, keep us safe. My family lost this dream on July 28th, 2022. We've been living a nightmare ever since then. That day appears to get worse, as no one seems to care or worry about us flooded and forgotten Kentuckians. Will we get back home? Will we have a chance to dream again? Or will this be a nightmare? The flood came, and the flood not only killed lives, but it killed dreams, passion, and love. For me, it was 17 days of being in a colorless, cold world. I remember volunteering and hearing other volunteers talk about having to restrict others from receiving goods, volunteered goods that was donated to them. I lost all hope in humanity. And honestly, who wasn't? Now I'm 2 years in and still homeless. My daughters have nowhere to make memories. And to be honest, I don't know if we will get a home. There's no help in sight, no programs around us anymore. And I just don't know if there's any way we can get back home in that future. We live in a country that during the war on poverty chose the side of poverty to win. And what hurts the most is we've divided this country on so many social rights that poverty would continue to prevail and prosper, whilst we the people destroy each other and fight just to survive. Society as a whole has quit on each other. But what do we do to have to look forward at this moment? That's the future. And one of the biggest lies we've been told is we don't have any control of the future, but we do. And they live in the homes with us. And I'm proud of what I'm seeing. I'm proud of the progression that's happened, but I'm not proud of the lack of support from outside the areas to invest in our future. We have to give them a reason to quit looking down on us, though. And hopefully the future will not only do that, but will make the outside world look up to them because of their strength, ingenuity, and bravery. The moral of this story is for us to work harder, not better every day. Step out of the shadows. Stop being living ghosts and just live. Do what it takes. Knock down doors. Inspire others. Never give up. Ask questions about things we don't know. Admit we're wrong. The most important thing I want anybody to take away from this is love. If you're listening and struggling, it's okay. Someone loves you and wants the best for you. And that's me. But know this, friend. Let's make a better America together. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Wesley, for such a powerful yet compelling testimony. Next up,
and
we
Wesley, thank you so much for reminding us of people's humanity and saying that even there you all won't give up. And that's why, brothers and sisters, when we look at this election, we got to ask serious questions. Who's really for housing? Who's really for housing? Who's really serious about housing? You know, we got to vote for those that are serious about housing and addressing climate change and making sure that persons like Wesley have a living wage before the storm hits, so that they can have some savings and things after the storm hits to come back. Wesley, thank you for reminding us that this is no mere election time. It is really, really about humanity. And thank you for bringing love into the mix. Because if we truly love one another, we will not sit around and have power to determine who sits in office and the kind of love that they show in the public policy, and then we stay home. Love is action. Love is action. And let's take action and use the power that we have for transformation. Thank you so much, Daniel. I may cut in from time to time, but I'm just being so moved by these testimonies.
Thank you so much, Bishop. Next up, we'll have Rabbi Michael Pollack.
Hello, I'm Rabbi Michael Pollack, Executive Director of March on Harrisburg and a statewide tri-chair of the Pennsylvania Poor People's Campaign. We live in strange times of chaos and suffering, poverty, racism, ecological devastation, the war economy, the denial of health care, and the distorted moral narrative of Christo-fascist white supremacy are killing our people, and it's gone on far too long. Voting is an act of speaking, of using our voice. Elections are how we communicate and speak as a society to decide our elected officials. The right and obligation to communicate and speak is inherent to every one of us. It is based on the reality of our own humanity, and it is endowed by our own Creator. We need to use our vote and our voice and vote. We live in times when our vote and voice is competing with the voice of big money. Right now, billionaires are in my state of Pennsylvania, blanketing the airwaves and mailboxes with lies and divide and conquer nonsense, telling us to blame our poor, different neighbors. Billionaires are here right now handing out literal million-dollar checks. And in the distorted moral narrative of our times, billionaires and corporations spending unlimited amount of money on elections is speech. Money talks is the law of the land. And our public officials have created this biblical level idolatry. It says in Psalm 115, their idols are silver and gold. They have mouths but cannot speak. We know the lies that big money spews are hollow, and we can't let it win and turn us against our neighbors. We know that they use this money to harden our hearts and turn us against each other. And we know it isn't true and it isn't sacred, real speech. Our vote is an important and sacred part of our voice, and we must use it and amplify our voice. And we must use the rest of our voice beyond Election Day. We need to vote, we need to keep organizing, developing leaders, and speaking justice into existence every day of every year.
All right, thank you so much, Rabbi Michael Pollack. Next up, we will have Shally Gupta Barnes.
Thank you, Danielle. I'm sorry I'm not on video tonight. My Wi-Fi isn't strong, but I wanted to just spend a couple of minutes reminding us again of the power of poor and low-income voters. We already know this power, but most of the country doesn't. And this is the most consequential voting bloc, not only in this election, but in our nation's politics. And we get the least attention. So we got to remind ourselves constantly. And so I want us to look quickly at this map from 2020, the last presidential election. Just look at this map. Look at the millions and millions of people across the country, among the 140 million, all these percentages representing the power of low-income voters in each and every state. We're talking about 80 million eligible voters, more than 50 million who voted in 2020, accounting for big enough percentages in these states, and a third of the electorate overall, that if this voting bloc was organized to take action together, its power potential would be unparalleled. If it was one voting bloc, there are more votes among the 80 million poor and low-income voters than either party received in 2020. And so people are taking notice because the stakes are so high, as we've heard on this call, as we know in our lives, not only in this election season, but for the years ahead of us. This new and unsettling force, this swing vote, this block of poor and low-income voters must be organized to save the heart and soul of our democracy. And if we can begin to flex this political might, maybe, just maybe, we can move this country in a different direction, not just starting November 5th, but starting in all the days leading up to November 5th and on November 6th and throughout 2025 and 2026 until we realize the nation we were meant to be. So thank you, everybody, for everything that's going on in this electoral season and in the years leading up to this moment and the years ahead of us.
That's right, Charlie. We have amazing power as the swing vote in this country of poor and low income, infrequent voters. And up next from the state of West Virginia, we have Pam Garrison.
Thank you. I'm tri-chair of the West Virginia Poor People's Campaign. I've been with the Poor People's Campaign for about 5 years because I believe in us. That's why, not no organization, not a politician. I believe in us, the marginalized, the low income voters, the moral people. I believe that all of us coming together for freedom and justice for all. West Virginia is one of the states, one of the poorest states in the nation. 656,860 poor, low-income voters and 85 million across the nation. We account for 1/3 of the electorate. Last presidential election, we engaged in mass voter registration simultaneously across the nation and texted millions of people. This election, we're having mass simultaneous canvassing across the nation, reaching out to low propensity voters and texting millions more. We are making our voice and our demands heard. We proved through COVID when policies are implemented for the greater good of the country to relieve some critical problems. A tax credit to help low-income people with children. Child poverty was cut in half. Expanding Medicaid helped people that can't afford insurance get medical help. Expanding SNAP helps seniors that have to choose between medicine or electricity or food. They try to convince the public that we can't afford to fix our problems because it might upset the rich from getting richer. So they let the policies expire. Our kids went back into poverty. People went back to the emergency room for medical treatment. Our seniors went back to doing without. If we want a government for the people, by the people have to engage. They have to participate. That is our job. That is our duty. By voting, because we are the swing vote. Thank you.
That's right, Pam. That's right. That is our job. That is our duty. We are the swing vote. Up next, we have Linnell from Maryland.
I'm sorry, everyone.
You're good. We can hear you.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Linnell, tri-chair and proud member of the Maryland Poor People's Campaign. Sorry, my camera. I'm voting because of what's happening in Maryland and all states across this nation. Violence through disinvestment, like in Sandtown, Winchester, where we're working here in Baltimore, has always been poverty, systemic racism, inequality, food deserts, crime, and not enough support. Closed schools, abandoned buildings, lead pipes. To this day, this is a real problem. The state of Maryland has the highest eviction rate in the United States. Think about that. The highest infant mortality rate. The highest denial of health care. Food disparity, and the list goes on and on and on. We are facing an onslaught of injustice here. And poverty is a policy choice, as Pam said. A better life is possible for our young men and women if we remove guns and replace them with education, food, housing, and employment. So why do we neglect our children in Sandtown, Winchester? We went there for our Get Out the Vote campaign October the 5th, 2024, and across PG County and Montgomery County. I was assigned to this area where I grew up. The schools closed 5 years ago. The recreation center closed 3 years ago. The pool has lead pipes in it. I met a little girl who volunteered to canvass with us. She was 10 years old. And we went around in a circle and introduced ourselves and why we were out here in the community handing out leaflets and encouraging people to vote. She said, I'm here because I want Sandtown to be a better place for the children to live. And if we ask the adults to vote, maybe, they'll vote. We want them to vote because we want something better. And then she said, I lost my sister last year. So everybody just stopped, and just gazed on her. She said, I lost my sister. It's hard to tell the story. She said, she was protecting my little brother. A boy came up to her with a gun. A 9-year-old child came up to the little brother because he wanted to kill the child. But the big sister jumped in front of that gun. She took the bullet. She's dead. This is wrong. This is so wrong, and it touched me so deeply because our children are traumatized by so much unchecked trauma. So much unchecked trauma in the state of Maryland. So much crime. We are mobilizing to get vans to take Sandtown Winchester to the polls. Their polling place was moved. We have mobilized with the community collective, Miss Malone and Liberation Inc. and other partners to create real change in Sandtown Winchester, because we have 1.1 million poor and low voters in Maryland. We have 11 billionaires in Maryland. That is $40.8 billion. We have enough money to fix these recreation centers. We have enough money to house these people. We have enough money. We have to continue to work and fight against this establishment and make our voices heard and make them do the right thing. Because W.E.B. Du Bois said, a voteless people are a hopeless people. If we want to enable this wrongdoing, we must speak up. We must stand up against injustice in Maryland. And that's why I'm voting, to see justice in a city plagued with greed and malfeasance. Go out and vote. Register your entire community to vote. We cannot let our voice be unheard. Think about that little girl that lost her sister last year. And all she wants is for adults to vote to make Sandtown Winchester a better place to live. We are the swing vote. And let's wake up the sleeping giant. Thank you.
That's right, Linnell. Thank you so much for reminding us that when someone's hurting our children, it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore, because we are not a voteless people and we are not a hopeless people. And next, we are going to hear from Reverend Wayne from North Carolina.
Good evening, everyone. I am Reverend Wayne Wilhelm, one of the tri-chairs for the North Carolina Poor People's Campaign, and excited to be here. We always say in this movement, when we lift from the bottom, everybody rises. And this is our opportunity in this season to lift up everybody. And when we come together and lift up everybody, we need to understand our power. We need to understand our power when it comes to voting. Because when we vote, we lift up our brothers and our sisters. When we vote, we lift up every person one at a time. When we vote, we lift up every polling place one at a time. When we vote, we lift up every precinct one at a time. When we vote, we lift up every city and every state one at a time. And when we continue to do that, we will lift up this nation if we would just continue to come together. we realize that we are this swing vote. And we're not just in this swing vote, we are the largest swing vote. We are reaching out to touch 15 million poor and low-wage infrequent voters. And if you've ever noticed when you are playing on a swing and you got a bunch of people on the swing, it may start off moving slow in the beginning. But if you keep moving and the swing keeps on swinging and we keep swinging together, we're going to turn this nation upside down. And all we have to do is just continue to lift ourselves up, continue to lift up one another, because we are that swing vote. And if we stay together, nobody can stop us from moving forward together and not one step back.
Come on, Reverend Wayne. Let's all get on that swing and swing until we change what is politically possible in this country. I love it. I love it. I love it. Next up, we're going to hear from Dr. Ashley Marshall from one of our partners, Forward Justice, to tell us how we can protect that swing vote in this important election coming up on November 5th.
Good evening. I am so glad to be with you all tonight and in partnership with the Poor People's Campaign. I am Ashley Marshall with Forward Justice. As you lead the Get Out the Vote efforts to wake the sleeping giant of this nation's largest potential swing state, our partnership makes it known nationwide that we are also committed to ensuring that every eligible vote counts and that no poor or low-wage voter is denied access to the ballot in this election. We will vote free from fear, harassment, and intimidation. We understand the stakes of this election. We live it every day. We also understand and we know that voters in almost half of this country will face new voting restriction in this presidential election. Shame. In our joint partnership, Forward Justice, NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights and Poor People's Campaign are promoting the nonpartisan election protection hotline, 866 Our Vote. This is where we have voting rights attorneys and voter protection organizations across the country monitoring and documenting voting rights barriers and active voter suppression issues that harm our movement, our leaders, and the rising force of poor and low-income voters. If you have questions about voting laws in your state, your voting status, or if you want to report an issue or problem at your polling place, call 866 Our Vote, and attorneys are standing by to assist and to help you. We know this election will be critical in defining the state of our democracy in this country and lasting imprints on the freedom and spirit of this nation. And this is why Forward Justice, NAACP Legal Defense Fund are proud to serve as legal support and capacity again to the Poor People's Campaign for the election of 2024. Let's get out the vote and protect our vote.
Protect our vote, y'all. 1-866 Our Vote. Call that election protection hotline. Report everything you see, anything and everything. Thank you so much, Dr. Ashley Marshall from Forward Justice. Miss Yara, will you please introduce this video we're about to watch?
I certainly will, Clinton. Thank you so much. Good evening, family. It is so good to be with you this evening to experience this fantastic energy. We are fired up and we are ready to vote. And if you've not voted yet, I'm sure you're on your way. I'm fired up because there's power in our swing vote. I'm also fired up because there's blood on my right to vote. And today I can walk boldly into that voting booth and make my voice heard. You know, it was the incomparable Ms. Nina Simone, singer, songwriter, activist, and musician, I'm sure you know her, who said, an artist's duty, as far as I'm concerned, is to reflect the times. And so I'm excited to announce that across this country, there are artists who are singing and playing beautiful and powerful social justice music. They're creating interpretive dance and, as it goes in the world of poetry, spitting the truth through spoken word. So let's hear now from one such spoken word artist from Raleigh, North Carolina, Miss Patrina Bryant, known artistically as Trina Thoughts.
Dearly beloved, 140 million of us should be gathered here today in order to form a more perfect union. Poor and low-wage workers should be included, joined together in holy matrimony. This man and this woman struggles every day to stay alive, yet poverty is how they died. Fourth leading cause of death, America holds her breaths because she would rather you cash out on insurance policies, crooked policies, ensuring that the rich stay rich and the poor pay the taxes. So I ask this. If anyone knows why these two groups should not be joined together, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. We are strong, not weak. Our vote is our voice, and the ballot box should be our choice because we hide behind the veil. Of legislation using laws to suppress voters' registration. Well, the blushing bride has arrived, and we will lift from the bottom and rise like a phoenix in Arizona skies. Set fire on Alaskan snow and demand that you give the natives back their land. In this land of the free, home of the brave, we are the grandchildren of former slaves. We are the free men of free men. Their all is what they gave. So why? Why are veterans on the street? No housing and bags for something to eat. Whole signs that say, God bless, but in the U.S., there are 5 vacant homes for everyone that's homeless, and then the city rezones our home and take what grandparents left. Gentrification moves in, but then don't want to live next door to the poor. And Congress turns around and spends $20 trillion on war, but cuts the budget for you to house me. And me must make 3 times the rent in order to rent, but the current rent is $2,000 monthly. And the average person, when they die, needs a GoFundMe. Same as politicians asking to go fund me, yet the poor's are accused of handouts. As you hand out the scraps to the ones that put you in office, but watch this, we about to swing low and ride that chariot to the polls. We're coming forth to carry us home because the swing vote swings in our favor. So boom! To keep this marriage together, somehow it doesn't matter, we vow to have and to hold from this day forward, for richer, for poor, for better, for worse, in sickness and in health, to death do us part. Do you promise to vote and do your part? I do. Get ready. We're ready. We're ready to make our mark.
We are the swing vote. We are the swing vote.
Amen, amen to that entire powerful spoken word from our Mass Poor Peoples and Low-Wage Workers Assembly and Moral March on Washington and to the polls this past June in Washington, D.C. I now have the honor of introducing our campaign co-chair, the Reverend Dr. Liz Theoharis, to offer an important reflection as we join together tonight in this rally. Reverend Liz.
Well, good evening. Good evening. It is amazing to be with this group of leaders all across the country. And we all know that if ever there was a need to vote and to inspire others to vote, it sure is now. Consider what's happening around us. Extreme storms wreaking havoc on lives and livelihoods, war and conflict throughout the world, rising political violence, continued police brutality, attacks against women and LGBT communities and immigrants, and poverty and low wages literally killing people. Enter some extremists and Project 2025 who want to impose eligibility standards, work requirements, asset tests to constrain access to Medicaid, who want to cut food stamps and end universal school meals. They want to eliminate Head Start and end Housing First programs. They want to restrict reproductive rights and curtail LGBTQ rights and so much more. And we know it will be poor and low-income people who suffer the most. But here's where we in the Poor People's Campaign, leaders across the states, across the country come in, waking this sleeping giant, canvassing and texting and calling poor and low-income infrequent voters. And here is that statement again. If ever there was a time to vote, it's now. Because we know it doesn't have to be this way. Our texts, our sacred texts and traditions do not will it this way. Jesus and the prophets, Moses and the people who have fought for justice throughout the ages stand in direct opposition to every provision of Project 2025. In the Exodus, the Hebrew people reject the oppression, the mistreatment by Pharaoh, and they march on to freedom. Leviticus and Deuteronomy establish policies, procedures to lift up the people so justice is passed down generation to generation. The prophets cry out to God in direct protest to those with power and wealth to do justice, to not shed innocent blood, to hate evil and love good, to stop depriving the poor of their rights. And throughout the New Testament, Jesus celebrates the interventions of poor farmers and fisher people, poor but persistent widows, gender nonconforming leaders, and those who have been denied healing but insist that change is coming. In the spirit of all this, we know we have the power to change the entire politics of this nation, compelling politicians up and down the ballot to push for policies that can put people instead of profit at the absolute center of our politics. Listen to everyone gathered here this evening. We will continue to mobilize and organize and build up this political power of the poor. We say poverty no more. We will vote for justice for the poor because everybody's got a right to live. Thank you so much.
Everybody's got a right to live. That is right, Reverend Dr. Liz Theoharis. And what could be more apt than those hearing directly from the testifiers who know that that change is coming? So to introduce another batch of powerful state voices tonight, first up, we have Wayne Scadam with the Wisconsin Poor People's Campaign.
My name is Wayne, and I'm from Wisconsin Poor People's Campaign. And before joining the movement, I did not realize the power our collective votes have. I had grown very cynical of our two-party system and had decided that neither party had our interests at heart. Only the interests of the status quo power and money system in America. I am voting in this election to play my part in waking the sleeping giant. We are the swing vote. In Wisconsin, poor and low-income voters make up 42% of the electorate. I am voting so my children and grandchildren have a bright future and a healthy and moral democracy to participate in, so that everyone's right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is realized. If someone thinks that their vote doesn't count, I ask this question. If a vote doesn't count, then why is the status quo power and moneyed ruling class so intent on passing laws all across this country to disenfranchise whole blocks of voters? My answer is that they know we have power and are afraid of the power of our collective vote. So vote. Our vote is power in our voice. Our vote will and is changing the narrative. Vote. The collective voting of we, the poor and low-income people, is power and will cause both red and blue representatives to listen to us. Our vote will change history. Our vote will cause a moral revival in America. Together, our votes will revitalize a healthy democracy. Together, our voters will raise up the beloved community. Together, our votes will ensure a bright future for our children and grandchildren. Together, our vote will ensure a just, secure, and lasting future for all people. Our vote is power. Our vote is power. We will not be silent anymore. Vote. Thank you.
Our vote is power, Wayne. Y'all heard it here first. I can hear that echoing in this Zoom and at all of the screens across the country watching this. Our vote is power. From Wisconsin, we are taking it all the way to Alabama. I want to hear from the Reverend Carolyn Foster about why you are turning out and your community is turning out this election.
I am Reverend Carolyn Foster. I serve as tri-chair for the Alabama Poor People's Campaign. I live, work, and serve in Birmingham, Alabama. I learned the importance of voting while growing up in segregated Birmingham during the fight for civil rights here in Alabama. People like me did not have the right of self-determination. Where my family lived, worked, and where we were able to go and what we were able to do was dictated by a system of privilege and power that were in the hands of a few. I felt like being driven in a car and being taken to a place you definitely did not want to go. I am voting because voting puts me in the driver's seat. I am at the steering wheel, and I can steer in the direction that is best for me and my family. The power is in my hands when I am at the ballot box. In Alabama, there are over 1.9 million poor and low-income eligible voters who make up over 47% of the electorate. That's almost half of Alabama. In the community where I currently live, there are over 1,500 eligible but infrequent voters. So we have been canvassing these voters all over the state of Alabama so as to wake the sleeping giant in them and encouraging them to get in the driver's seat by putting a voting ballot in their hands and charting a course of direction that is best for themselves and their families. Yes, legal segregation may have ended, but it has also evolved in the form of racial gerrymandering, voter suppression, and purging of the voting list. And we can change these tactics by voting for candidates who support the issues that matter to us. It puts the power in our hands when we vote. We are the swing vote, and we are waking the sleeping giants in Alabama.
That's right, Reverend Carolyn. We are waking the sleeping giant in Alabama and across the country, and poor and low-wage infrequent voters have the steering wheel. We are taking the steering wheel, and we are driving ourselves to the polls and beyond. From Alabama, we are going to Arizona. We want to hear from Zaid Evans about what you are seeing and hearing on the ground and why your community is turning out this election.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Zaid Evans. As a disabled trans veteran living on a fixed income and serving as faith leader and tri-chair of the Arizona Poor People's Campaign, I'm voting because my life and the lives of those in my community depend on it. We live in a state where healthcare access, housing insecurity, the basic dignity of human rights, and environmental protections are constantly under threat. The people I serve, many of whom are poor and low-wage workers, know this struggle firsthand. They feel silenced and invisible in a system designed to keep them marginalized. Personally, as a trans man and faith leader, this election cycle has been harrowing as anti-trans ads and policies specifically target my community. I feel exiled on so many levels, especially geographically. Earlier this spring, my wife and I were just 2 weeks away from listing our home in Arizona to move back to Oklahoma to help my sister care for our aging mother and be closer to my extended family and friends. But anti-trans legislation passed in Oklahoma, making it impossible for me to live into my divine createdness. In this experience of exile, I see myself in the exiled people of Israel, as described in the 56th chapter of Isaiah, where God declares God's house to be a house of people for all people, extending love and welcome to everyone, for we know that we are all created in God's image. I vote to put an end to policy violence that puts marginalized communities like mine in the crosshairs of hate-fueled lies that impact real lives and families. And I'm voting so that my wife of 27 years, an oncology nurse working beyond retirement age, can finally retire without the burden of student debt that has remained unchanged for more than 20 years, despite risking her life on the front lines throughout the pandemic. I'm calling on every poor and low-wage voter to stand with me and use the power we collectively hold at the ballot box. The nearly 3 million poor and low-income people in Arizona have the power to decide this election, but we cannot stay home. Our vote declares that we are still here and we matter. I have not given up on this democracy because when we rise together, we make it clear that no decision about us can be made without us. This is about our lives, our futures, and the moral revival of the democracy that must work for everyone. My voice is my vote, an act of faith that, like the persistence of the Canaanite woman in Matthew 15, who transforms the collective imagination, insists on our shared humanity, and calls us all to help bend the long moral arc of the universe toward justice.
Thank you so much, Zaid, for that powerful, powerful testimony. Everyone across this country needs to know where you are and where you are voting and why you are not able to be in this other place that you want to be. And it is exactly because of immoral policies and policy violence. Thank you for letting us know why you are turning out to vote. And finally, our last state speaker, we have Julissa Morales from the Pennsylvania Poor People's Campaign. Julissa.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. As mentioned, my name is Julissa Morales with MILPA, which is the Movement of Immigrant Leaders of Pennsylvania. We're a network of families across the state that fight for the human rights of all, regardless of their immigration status. We're a part of the Pennsylvania Poor People's Campaign Coordinating Committee, and excited to be here with you all. Our right to vote is one of the most powerful tools we have in our democracy. It's not about supporting a candidate or a party. Our vote is not our support, but it's our demands. It's how we express what we need as a society, what we expect from our elected officials, and how we want to shape our future. This is about collective power. The poor and working class communities make up the largest, most powerful voting bloc in this country. If we unite, if we stand together across all lines of division, we can become an unstoppable force for change. Just this past weekend, MILPA, along with Put People First and ACT UP and other organizations, came together in our local neighborhoods, knocking on doors collectively to discuss the struggles they face and what our legislative priorities are in Pennsylvania. Too often, we're told that our voices don't matter or that the system is too broken to fix. But that's exactly why we need to show up at the polls. Our votes have the power to challenge the status quo, to demand policies that work and that support our working families. Voting is a way for us to make sure all our voices are heard. We have to make sure to come across all lines of division to make sure and ensure that all are being treated with equal human rights. Now more than ever, it's essential that we exercise our right to vote, especially if you live in Pennsylvania and you haven't registered yet. Today is the deadline. You have until midnight, so a couple hours. Please make sure you are an eligible voter and don't miss your chance. It only takes a couple minutes. Together, we can shape a future that works for all of us and not just the top 1%. So let's use our power, Pennsylvanians, to register today. Let's all vote November 5th and organize, organize, organize.
That's right. Let's organize, 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 and mobilize, mobilize, mobilize to swing that vote, to swing the election across this entire country. Up next, we're going to do a state roll call so that everyone watching this live stream can see the power of this movement. Our leaders calling in from all over the state, telling us that they are the swing vote. So Alabama, are you in the house tonight?
Alabama is definitely in the house, and we are the swing vote.
Amazing. Georgia, are you here tonight?
We're missing. Yes, and we are swing vote. Woo.
Yes, that's right, Georgia. That's right, Georgia. Florida, are you here tonight? How about Ohio? Ohio, are you here with us?
Go, go, go! Ohio! We are the swing vote!
That's right, Lou. That's right. We are the swing vote. Kentucky, are you with us tonight?
We are that swing vote.
Thank you so much, Mary. We also are in Nevada, but Arizona, are you with us?
We are, and we are the swing vote.
Amazing. Michigan, are you with us tonight?
Michigan in the house, and we are the swing vote.
Mississippi, are you in the house tonight?
We are the swing vote.
That's right, Tamika. North Carolina, are you in the house tonight?
North Carolina, we in the house and we are the swing vote.
Yes. Pennsylvania.
We are the swing vote.
South Carolina.
South Carolina is in the house, and we are the swing vote.
Yes, ma'am. Texas.
Texas is here.
And we are the swing vote.
Amazing. We got a full house down there in Texas. West Virginia, are we in the house?
Yes, West Virginia is here, and we are the swing vote.
Amazing. Wisconsin.
All right, we're going to keep
Yes,
this roll call.
Wisconsin is here, and we are the swing vote.
All right, Wisconsin. We're going to keep this roll call rolling. California. Is California in the house? California's trying to come off mute.
California is in the house, and we are the swing vote.
Yes, thanks, California. Delaware. Is Delaware in the house tonight?
Oh, yes, we are here, and we've been hustling as best we know how. We are the swing vote in less than 1 million members in our population, and 45% of them are low-income, infrequent voters. We're working our little tails off. We're here. We're the swing vote.
Thank you, Delaware. Thank you. Illinois. Is Illinois in the house tonight?
Illinois is here, and we are the swing vote.
Yes. Indiana.
Indiana is the swing vote.
Yes. Come through, Indiana. Kansas.
Kansas is here, and we are the swing vote.
Come on, Kansas. All right. Louisiana. Maine.
Maine is here, and we are the swing vote.
Great. Maryland. Is Maryland in the house tonight?
Yes, and we are the swing vote.
Great. Massachusetts. Where's Massachusetts tonight?
Yes, we are here, and we are the swing vote.
Come through, Massachusetts. Minnesota, where are you? Is Minnesota in the house tonight?
Minnesota is here in spirit, Danielle. They are certainly the swing vote.
Yes.
And just to round us out, Missouri, are you in the house?
Missouri's in the house and we are the swing vote.
You sure are. How about Nebraska?
Nebraska's in the house, and we are the swing vote.
Amen. New Jersey.
New Jersey's in the house, and we don't like to gloat, but we are the swing vote.
That's right, New Jersey. Sending it over to New York.
New York is in the house, and we are the swing vote.
Amen. And Oklahoma.
Oklahoma is here, and we are the swing vote.
You are the swing vote, Oklahoma. And so is Oregon. What about Rhode Island?
Rhode Island is here, and we are the swing vote.
That's right, Pamela. And how about Tennessee?
Tennessee, the volunteer state, is the swing vote.
Yes, you are, Tennessee, and so is Utah. How about Vermont?
Vermont is here, and we are the swing vote.
Yes, you are, Reverend Joan, and from Virginia to Washington State, we are that swing vote all across the country. All across the country. So much incredible mobilizing and organizing work happening in this season of action. To close out this powerful program this evening, I'd like to turn it over to our incredible Director of Theomusicology and Cultural Arts. Oh, and not to leave anyone out, Washington, D.C.
We are here. We're heading to the polls, and we are that swing vote.
Absolutely, you are Washington, D.C. We are going to keep voting every single year until you are that 51st state. And so to close us out this evening, I am going to turn it over to our co-director of Theomusicology and Movement Arts, Yara Allen, to introduce our final video of this evening. Yara.
Thank you, Mads. This has been an empowering rally. And by now, surely we are ready to go out and put our voices on the ballot. And by doing this, we can definitely make them hear us. So please now join your spirits with Miss Katina Rosemond Ray, singer and activist from Raleigh, North Carolina, as she delivers a deeply moving rendition of Make Them Hear You.
Go out and tell our story. Let it echo far and wide. Make them hear you. Make them hear you. How justice was our battle and how justice was denied. Make them hear you. Please make them hear you. And say to those who blame us for the way we chose to fight that sometimes there are battles that are more than black or white. And I could not put down my sword when justice was denied. Make them hear you. Make them hear you. Go out and tell the story to your daughters and your sons. Make them hear you. Please make them hear you. And tell them in their struggles they were not the only one. Make them hear you. Make them hear you. Your sword could be your sermon on the power of it. Teach every child to raise their voice, and then, my brother, will justice